Okay, Wendy, the recording is in process as
Yep.
we are barreling through the college football season. Wendy, we're here for week 5. Wendy, our show name is Fourth and Wendy because
Yep.
you're Wendy. I'm Trey. If you haven't listened to this before, I'm Trey Davis. This is Wendy. Wendy's my sister. We like talking about college football. We have family and friends that like to watch this, and we get everybody's feedback. Wendy, let's get to the real deal. Holyfield in the epicenter of all of college football and maybe football in the United States was focused on Tuscaloosa, Alabama. The
Yep.
Georgia Bulldogs cruise down from Athens. They avoid a hurricane and
Yep.
they come into Bryant Denny. Wendy, we're going to get to it. Alabama does win the game 41-34. Wendy, probably one of the most epic games I've ever seen in my entire life. We
Yep.
want to be entertained. We were entertained. And if you were not entertained, go watch another sport. Wendy, I'm going
Right.
to turn it over to you. Break it down. What happened in week 5? The Alabama Crimson Tide over the Georgia Bulldogs.
I mean, here's the thing. I'm still walking on cloud nine. I mean, I'm like you. I don't know if I've ever seen this good of a game. I mean, it was built up obviously to be the biggest game of the season, and it absolutely delivered. Um, at the, I mean, I know we're going to get into the nuances of the game, but after that first half, you're kind of sitting here looking, going, "Are we about to literally kill Georgia? Like, are we about to absolutely?" dominate Georgia? I mean, is this people going to actually turn this off? Or are we going to put our backups in against Georgia? I mean, that's all I'm thinking. I'm running around the house. I'm like, we're the greatest thing that's ever lived, right? But halftime hits, and I start thinking about this guy, and his name is Kirby Smart. And I'm going to tell y'all something. Kirby Smart is still to this day one of the best halftime adjusters I've ever seen. I had him in Alabama. I know how good the guy is at halftime adjusting. So, you kind of start getting a little bit nervous. So, going into the second half, I'm sitting there thinking, we won't be able to hit this edge again. We will not be able to hit this edge again. He's going to adjust that. Their defense is really going to start playing to the level that we expected the first half. What I didn't count on was old Carson Beck getting out of his head and starting to sling a football. That's what I didn't count on.
Well,
Go
you're 100%. Yeah, you're 100% right. I mean, but we said in this podcast, Georgia's going to throw the ball deep. Georgia
ahead.
is going to take shots, hands down, period, end of story. Now, I know the game got out of hand early, and so they really had to go to start throwing the ball down the field. I
Right.
understand that. But that's what Carson Beck's really good at. He's very accurate. And I think Alabama caught them off guard, and they didn't catch them off guard by scoring 10 points, Wendy. They caught them off guard and scored 28 points
Yep.
and
Yep.
built a lead that was not insurmountable because Georgia
Right.
does come back and take a lead late in the fourth quarter. Wendy, there's a couple of things that I have written down. Number one, us getting out to that start, I think caught them off guard. We thought Alabama would play loose. They did play loose.
Right.
The biggest thing in the second half, was the kickoff mess up. So when
Yep.
Georgia's kicking us the ball off, all we have to do is fair catch the ball. We're getting the ball at the 25-yard line. We have a miscommunication there, and we get stuck inside the 5. It's a wasted possession.
Right.
There's another possession in the second half where we're throwing on first and second down. We don't even. I mean, that's a minute and a half. Now I know
Right.
people say, well, what if you didn't have that minute and a half at the end of the game? Well, I'm still wanting to bleed this clock out a little bit more. I think
Right.
we could have done a better job than that. At some point, you have to say we're going to run the ball,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
and we're going to run the ball. We're going to tell you where we're going to run the ball, and you got to try to beat them.
Right.
But as far as the rest of the game, Wendy, I've watched college football a long time, and I know
Yep.
there's people out there that know a lot more about college football than I do. But when I saw Ryan Williams, the last play of Alabama's offense to take the lead again,
Yep.
I've never seen a player catch the ball, basically come to a stop because he's bobbling the ball, and he comes
Right.
to almost a stop. He jukes two Georgia defenders, and I was talking to Barry about this, and I'll kind of get to his comments. The Georgia players never fall down, aka
Right.
they're never really out of the play. They're on their feet and they're trying to
Right.
get to the guy. He does this spin moves and scores when and I'm not sure if anybody from Georgia touched him.
Right.
Wendy, what were you doing when Ryan Williams
Oh
scored
my.
the go-ahead touchdown?
Okay, well, listen, y'all. I'm one of those fans. Like, I'd almost given up. I was like, "We're gonna lose this game. We're up. We're up by 100. It feels like and let me. I'm gonna go back some, and I don't care. In the first half, we spread the ball around. It wasn't just going to one guy. I mean, we got 3, 4 different people scoring. We got Jalen Milrow never being touched, walking into the end zone. I mean, it wasn't like it was at the first half. Wasn't the Ryan Williams and Jalen Milrow show. I mean, we were spreading out the ball. Willer got a touchdown. I mean, we have some things going on, right? And all of a sudden we come out for the second half, and I'm like, why are we running to the edge after the first series, right? We're not going to get to the edge again. Kirby Smart had a spy out there, I bet, every time somebody went to go. And all of a sudden you start kind of feeling like, what are we actually doing? Time management. I'm with you. I'm like, why are we not running some more time off the clock? By the time these guys have scored twice in a row, Georgia, we're sitting here going, they're going for it fourth down every time, and they're getting it. And they're getting it. You see
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Which keeps that clock going, keeps us off the field. Our defense, you could see them get tired in that really long drive they had. I'm looking at my mom and I'm like, they're going to be exhausted. This is a young defense anyway. But I told you my worry all year is, can these young guys match up in the backfield with some of these older guys that have been playing for 100 years? You know what I mean? And you saw in the second half, we weren't doing that. He was getting over top of them. We had that one fumble. Carson Beck fumbled in the second half. That really helped us get it back on our side. But Trey will tell you the biggest play of the game was that field goal. Everybody wants to talk about everything, but not getting that field goal when we did, when Ryan Williams called it and he
Yeah.
literally popped it up and did
Yeah.
some type of spin move that you would only see at an ice rink and comes down with the ball. He put us in field goal position. We were able to get a field goal on that series. So I think in that moment, I had moved at this point, guys. I'm real superstitious. So I'd been in the kitchen and I'm like, okay, I'm going to move to the kitchen table. I can still see the TV. And I am really in my heart thinking, we were up 28-0. And we're probably going to lose this game. I'm looking at the time. I don't know if we've got enough time to get the ball back. Are they going to go for a tie? Well, I mean, Trey, I've got 90 million things. And this kid throws this ball. And I'm like, I see Hollywood. And I'm like, please, Jesus, please, Jesus, please, Jesus.
Milrow to Williams.
When he comes down, and I'm going to tell you something, only a high school kid could do this. I mean, y'all have been to high school games where the craziest plays happen, right? These high school kids only a high school kid can figure out a way to juke two people, make them hug each other. If you look at it, it's like they're already consoling each other. I don't know if y'all have seen the line of Kirby Smart on the sideline, because he's kind of right there when Ryan Williams catches it, and he's like, oh, even Kirby Smart knew. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Trey, it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen, and we just needed it so bad. Put all the momentum back in Alabama. The crowd was going crazy. My daughter went to the game. She said it was just absolutely the most incredible thing she's ever seen. And I mean, I think at the end of the day, Trey, though, right after the play, because I'm, into the game, I'm like, well, they've still got time. Like this game's still not over. You know what I mean? Coolest thing I've ever seen, really.
Yeah, and the big interception to seal the game, which everybody goes crazy. Wendy, I agree with you. Listen, I thought this is how our run ends. Yep. I mean, unfortunately, it went through my mind in the second half, especially when Georgia took the lead. I said, well, this is how the run ends. The run ends with being way up on Georgia.
Yep.
Not being able to finish it off, and we're not going to beat Georgia in the next 10 years. And this is how it ends. Now, I'm not saying the end of the program and we never win another game. I'm just saying at the top echelon, this might be a real killer for several years.
Yep.
Somehow Alabama ends up winning the game, Wendy, and really in a really good spot to make the playoffs.
Yeah, and let me tell everybody something. I have said y'all are going to have to prove to me that Georgia's number one, and I have held on to that for 3 years, Trey. 3 years. And y'all give me a hard time. Georgia's the king of college football. Alabama's still the king of college football. We are still the standard. We are still the standard. But I'm going to tell you something. I give all accolades to Georgia. Those boys, if you are a Georgia fan, if you are a parent of one of these children, Kirby Smart, they really I'm not real big into participation trophies, but to come back the way that they did is almost mind-boggling. I mean, if anybody can do it, it was going to be Georgia. But Alabama's still got some things to work on. We see that from the second half. You know, we've still got to get some things, really look at that clock management, really understand how to do the second half when you're up like that. But let me tell you something, Trey. Alabama is still the king of college football. And until Georgia can beat me in a regular season, they can't beat me in Atlanta. They can't beat me in a regular season. They got me on one national championship. But until you can beat me, I'm still the king of college football. And I don't want to hear it anymore. I don't want to hear it. I don't want you, Chris Arnold, or anybody else to say it. I'm done with it. Roll Tide.
I will have to concede.
Wendy might be right.
Wendy might be right.
Wendy might be right.
And at this point, you are right, Wendy. I agree with you, Wendy. You are right. It's kind of a weird thing that Georgia wins all these games and just can't figure out a way to beat Alabama. Maybe not the last time we see Georgia this year, so this could be a matchup. Wendy, Maley was right. 4 + 2 does equal 6. Maley.
She was right.
Yep. Maley was right. Nacho, I was supposed to go to Nacho's house to watch the game, Wendy. Saturday was one of those days where we got busy. We went ice skating with the boys, and we just got busy. And then I was like, Nacho, I'm sorry I didn't come over. I will be back over there. I appreciate the invite. Just could not make it. Wendy, is there anything else on the Alabama-Georgia game that we missed?
No, just, also the big props to that number 2 for catching the interception. I know we all kind of focus on Ryan Williams, on Hollywood. And I mean, y'all, that's great. But that play right there, that interception was the clutch play. I mean, it really, without that play, that game, I believe they would have scored. I also believe they would have gone for 2. And I'm thinking they probably would have gotten it. And I'm not so sure we could have gotten back down there in time. So way to go, double deuces.
Double deuces. Sabian Brown, a freshman.
Yes.
And as Larry Munson would say, my gosh, a freshman.
Yep. And listen, offensive line. And last thing, because I want to give prop, here's a little bit of what I'm afraid of is that everybody's focusing in on Hollywood. Y'all, our whole team played great. I mean, our offensive line, I don't think Jalen Milroe got sacked one time. I mean, our whole entire team played really, 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 really well. It wasn't just these 2 guys. So congratulations to the entire Alabama football team.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And this is what you like college football for. Every week is not the best week of the year. Every week is, you don't get this kind of stuff. You have all eyes on Tuscaloosa. Alabama wins the game. It really matches up and it lines up with how big things are. Wendy, Alabama is going to have to stay focused. Yes. Well, we know Kalen DeBoer can get our players ready for a game. We understand that part. We have seen that several times this year. These boys seem ready to play. Wendy, the other big thing in college football and dealing with these younger athletes is you got to go play next week. You got to play from when we're doing this podcast. About 48 hours from now, Alabama will be playing against Vanderbilt. Wendy, let's just jump to that real quick. Can Kalen DeBoer and Alabama has to go to Vanderbilt on Saturday at 11 o'clock. Can Alabama stay on track, go up there and take care of business against Vandy? Might I add, Vandy has played a lot of teams tough this year. Yeah. Vandy does not appear to be scared of anybody.
Right.
Vandy's quarterback is the quarterback that beat Auburn last year, I think, to play for New Mexico State, real competitor guy. I want you guys to watch this quarterback from Vanderbilt. He is a competitor. He's really the antithesis of an athlete in athletics. You'll watch him play, and he is an athlete. Wendy, can they do it or not?
So what we call this stuff, us fans, we call these hangover games, right? You have this big, big game the week before, all the hype, the media, the win, the adrenaline, all this stuff, and then we call it these hangover games. And sometimes these teams can go into the next week, and it's almost like, well, it's just Vanderbilt or
okay, Wendy, let's go. No, I want to know. Get to that. Are we going to win it or not?
We're going to win the game, y'all, but expect to see maybe more mistakes. I know that, but I call them hangover games for a reason. I mean, I fully intend to blow out Vanderbilt. Don't love that Nick Saban said the easiest, one of the easiest places to play in the SEC is Vanderbilt because that can get you, nip you in the bud. Y'all, we're going to beat Vanderbilt. I'm just saying we might see a few more mistakes this week. Hangover games are real, in my opinion. They're real.
Well, it's just another test for Kalen DeBoer. Can he get the players ready to go again? I
That's
mean,
right.
some of this is on the players. Wendy, we are moving on to the best coach in the history of football
I knew you were
that
going to do this to me.
will never lose a game. Y'all watch out. This team, Ole Miss,
I'm
this
embarrassed.
team is going to blast everybody off the planet Earth. Nobody's talking to them. Ole Miss invites the Kentucky Wildcats, the juggernaut Kentucky
Mhm.
Wildcats, into Ole Miss last week, Wendy. And
Uh-oh.
Kentucky beats Ole Miss 20-17.
Yep.
Wendy, what do you say about this?
Well,
You're
I'm
the
embarrassed.
greatest coach ever.
Well, I'm embarrassed. I mean, I'm embarrassed for you to be my brother at this point. I'm embarrassed for myself. Um, Honestly, guys, I watched that game. You know, you're trying to get ready for our 7:30 game. So I watched all of that game. Receivers could not catch the ball. I don't know what was going on half the time. If I had to hear an announcer say analytics one more time, I was going to throw something at the TV. Listen, I don't know if this guy's clutch or not. I mean, he may just be a really good coordinator. I don't know. I mean, I'm sitting there watching the game, but now Kentucky, everybody wants to bet Kentucky damn near beat Georgia the week before we played them. So let's not just poo-poo on Kentucky. But listen, they should have won the game. And I'm embarrassed that I thought they were as good as they are. That doesn't mean y'all they can't come back. But Trey was right. They hadn't played anybody. And I got caught up in the mayhem of it, got caught up in the sip, got caught up into all of it. And honestly, those boys need to put suits on when they're walking out, and they need to learn to be a part of the SEC. They need to start playing hard because you're going to start losing your recruits, and I think he's good at that. But dude, Kentucky was the real deal, and I'm going to tell you, Kentucky's quarterback's the real deal. Trey Vandergriff, he's a real quarterback, y'all.
Well, yeah, and I think what happened, and I didn't see a lot of that game. I think what happened is it is a physical game, and
Yes.
when Ole Miss plays these 3 games, it gives you a false sense of this is how it is. You're gonna struggle some. Kentucky comes in there and is really physical. I agree with you. I think the South Carolina thing got everybody thrown off track with Kentucky, and Kentucky's
Yep.
probably better than you think. But Wendy, I don't care what you say. You can't let Kentucky come in there and win if you're some type of an elite team. And this
Yep.
was not a shootout. This was not some wild ending. This was basically a line it up and I'm going to beat you. Kentucky wins the game, Wendy, and I will
Yep.
stand this and I will stand to this. Ole Miss, if you were listening, remove the basketball goal from
Agreed.
your sidelines. If
Agreed.
your boys want to play basketball, tell them to go to the gym.
Yeah.
Okay? Go to the
Agreed.
gym and play basketball. You're not doing your program any favor by having some stupid basketball goal on the sidelines. It tricks
Agreed.
all the football gods. They don't know whether to be pulling for the basketball to go in or for the football to be scored.
Right.
Get it out. I can't stand it.
Yep.
Okay, Wendy, let's move on. Just real quick, A&M does beat Arkansas. For some reason, Texas A&M always beats Arkansas. Arkansas
Yeah.
can't figure out a way to beat A&M. A&M wins. And let's finish up with this one right here, Wendy. I got to get to work. I got to sell some insurance today. The Auburn football
Yep.
Tigers
Yep. Yep.
are on the plains again last week, and the Oklahoma Sooners come in, Wendy, and Auburn is just looking for a win anywhere they
Right.
can find one. They're up in the game, Wendy, and all is right in Auburn. They're going to have
Yep.
their last home game for a while. Hold on, I dropped something. They're going to have their last home game for a while. They're going to be a win. Everybody's going to leave the stadium happy.
Yep.
As long as we can maybe stop them one more time. Peyton Thorne drops back, throws it right to an Oklahoma player, and the Oklahoma player walks in, Wendy, and Oklahoma comes out of Jordan-Hare with a W. What is going on with the Tigers? Let's see what the score was. Did I write that down? Oklahoma 27, the Auburn football Tigers 21. Wendy?
I mean, listen, I'm watching that game. I'm excited. My friend Darcy loves Auburn. Destiny loves, like, I'm like, okay, Auburn's going to get them a win. Oklahoma's an SEC team. It's a good win for them. Not to mention everybody on Oklahoma's team is hurt. Like their entire starting lineup is hurt. But whatever, a win is a win, right? And I'm just sitting there thinking, is this kid about to drop back and throw the ball? Like, why are we throwing the ball? Why aren't we just running the ball? Right? You see what I'm saying? Get the time off the clock. This guy, what it was is he hadn't thrown an interception the entire game until this interception, right? So I think a little bit of that confidence came back, but I'm sitting there going, why did he throw the ball to begin with? There's not that much time on the clock. Just run the ball and try to get a first down. You know what I mean? If not, let your defense do what they've done all day and try to stop them. But Trey, I kind of felt bad for him. I mean, not really. I mean, if I'm being honest, like in my soul, by that point, I was really getting geared up for my game. But Trey, Auburn's just got a problem. Like but do you feel bad at all? Like I feel a little bit bad that they can't figure this thing out. You know what I mean?
I say the same thing that Luke Combs says.
Right.
When it rains, it pours, baby. When it rains, it pours.
Well, their gymnastics team is really, really good. So,
well, and listen, Auburn is Auburn. Auburn, right. This is what y'all wanted. Hugh Freeze wanted this guy. We said it on this podcast that this was not probably going to work out good, and it really doesn't matter if we say it or not. As an Auburn fan, I would want us to have a chance to win the game. They had a chance to win the game, Wendy, but these players have to make plays, and these players have to not make some of these other plays. So. Right. Unfortunately, Auburn goes down. They go on the road, Wendy. Their schedule just gets tougher. Let's talk about the weekend games coming up.
Listen, last quick thing on Auburn. Hey, Auburn, are y'all missing Gus Malzahn yet?
Whoa.
I mean, are you though? I mean, everybody thinks I'm going to get rid of this one and get a better one. And it's like, are y'all missing Gus yet? Because I'm missing Gus for y'all.
Gus, but no, and I'll leave with this. Gus ends up getting beat by Deion Sanders, Wendy.
He does.
Prime time goes down there and beats Gus. I don't know if they're missing Gus. I think Gus has got to figure out how to win a game. I think Gus is Hugh Freeze is so confident in the system that he runs, and he understands it so well. But I think the problem he has is these players don't understand it as well as he understands it.
Right.
And there's a lot of moving parts to his offense. And unless he has the right guys in his plays, I think he thinks he can outthink other teams. The problem is he ain't out there running the plays.
That's right.
The problem is players are running the players, not something that looks good on a chart that he's seen work 100 times.
That's right.
I think that's Freeze's problem. Wendy, let's get into this week's games. We already said Alabama travels to Vandy. You say it's a hangover game. Alabama still wins the game. We have the Auburn football Tigers going to play the Georgia Bulldogs. Both teams coming off a loss. Look for Georgia to drop the hammer on Auburn, and this would be a game that Auburn would win.
Right.
We have Missouri. I think we have Missouri at Texas A&M. If that's
It'd
right,
be a good game.
Yeah, I can't watch Texas A&M. And Wendy, the last one we're going to talk about today, and we're going to get off here. The Tennessee Volunteers are back in flight.
Yep.
And this time they take flight to the Arkansas Razorbacks. And Sam Pittman. Everybody loves everybody. Everybody had a week off in the Tennessee Vols. What are they going to do against the Arkansas Razorbacks, Wendy?
So, I think this is actually a bigger test for them than Oklahoma. I really do. I believe that. I believe that Arkansas can be a little bit more physical. Not half of their team is hurt. I believe it could give them a little bit of a challenge, especially on the defense. Everybody wants to come back at me. I'm still not sold on Tennessee's defense. I am 100% sold on their offense. I am, y'all. I'm not sold on their defense. I expect Tennessee to go in there and do what they do. This guy to throw 100 balls downfield, the guys to catch them and score. I expect it to be a little close at the beginning and then just get completely out of control. I expect their backups to be in by the third quarter. The bottom line is their quarterback's the real deal. And he's got some really good weapons around him. I'm still not completely sold on the defense, but Tennessee's going to walk out of here with the win. I don't feel like this is a huge test for Tennessee. I really don't.
Rocky Top.
I love Sam Pittman.
Always be home to me. Everybody is making plans this fall to go watch a Tennessee game. Wendy, I'm going to try to get up for the Alabama-Tennessee game. It is going to be a show. Listen, Nico is putting more stuff out on tape, okay? He has turned the ball over some. I know that they didn't score a bunch of points against Oklahoma, and that might have been more of a plan to get out of there with the win. I understand that. Tennessee, like you said, has turned the ball over some. as more tape comes out on Nico, there's going to be some tendencies. There's going to be some things that defensive coordinators can do to make some adjustments to what he does.
That's right.
Now, they still might not be able to stop him, but these tendencies will start to form. Okay,
that's right.
If you ever leave the house and you lock the back door and you stop forgetting you're locking the back door and you lock the back door, and then all of a sudden, well, these defensive coordinators said, listen, every time this guy's in this formation, he looks left and throws right.
Right.
They'll pick up on some stuff. I still think Tennessee has too much juice. And like they say, defense travels. Wendy, Tennessee is going to smother Arkansas.
Okay.
But going to be a good game. Love you. Got anything else on here? We're going to jump off. I want to say hey to Mom, Bob, everybody. Yes. What's up?
My sister, Gina. Gina's on her 4th time watching the game, Trey. She's watched it 4 times.
Yeah.
She's on it. This is my board.
We've got the board. It says Hollywood, and there's really nothing else to say.
There's nothing else to say other than Hollywood. But listen, Trey, this has been fun. Best game I've ever seen in the history of my life. Let's just keep rolling. We're number 1, y'all, like we should have been from the jump, and I'll take it. We are the kings of college football. Everybody else can sit down until I tell you you can stand back up. But roll Tide.
Roll Tide, Daniel Beck, Mike, John, all these guys, Kobe, all these guys in the text thread, Nacho, great to see y'all, and we will catch up with y'all next week. Wendy, I love you.
Love you. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.